Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something we all do every single day, but often find, well, kind of challenging. We're talking about the art of connection, the science of really, truly effective communication. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with what communication even is, then look at the blueprint for how it works. From there, we'll get into all the different types, zoom in on the most important interpersonal skills, figure out what gets in the way, and finally, talk about how you can break right through those barriers.
Okay, so let's start with the absolute basics. We throw this word communication around all the time, right? But what are we actually talking about?
I mean, we've all been there, haven't we? You fire off a quick text, you think it's perfectly clear, and then the reply you get is just completely off. It makes you stop and think, wait a minute, why is this so hard sometimes?
Well, if you go way back, the word itself gives us a clue. It comes from the Latin word communis, which just means to share. And that's really all it is at its heart. It's the process of getting an idea or a feeling out of your head and into someone else's. So how does that sharing process actually happen? Let's pull back the curtain and look at the basic mechanics. The journey a single thought takes to get from one person to another.
It's actually a pretty amazing trip when you break it down. It starts with the source, that's you, with an idea. That idea becomes the message. Then, your brain acts as an encoder, turning that thought into words. Those words travel through a channel, maybe the air if you're talking, or the internet if you're texting. On the other end, the receiver has to decode it all. And you know, a lot can go wrong at any of those steps.
And what happens when it gets interrupted? That's what communication experts call noise. And it's not just loud sounds. Noise is anything that distorts the message. It could be a bad cell signal, sure, but it could also be that you're stressed, or you and the other person just come from totally different backgrounds.
So now that we have that basic blueprint, let's look at the different forms this all takes in our everyday lives. There are a bunch of different ways we connect.
You can really split it into two big buckets. First, you've got verbal communication. That's the obvious stuff, words, either spoken or written. But then you have the equally, if not more powerful, nonverbal stuff. We're talking body language, tone of voice, eye contact. This is where so much of the real meaning is hidden.
And of course, the scale matters a ton, too. There's interpersonal communication, which is that direct back and forth you have with another person or in a small group. And then there's mass communication. That's one person or group sending a message out to tons of people at once, like a TV show or a viral social media post.
Okay, so let's zoom in on the one that probably matters most to our daily success and happiness, that interpersonal stuff. How do we master that art?
You know, people sometimes dismiss these as soft skills, but that's crazy. These are essential tools for life. They're how we build relationships, solve tough problems, and make good decisions with other people. They're anything but soft.
And what I think is so cool about this image is how it shows that great communication isn't just one thing. It's this whole ecosystem of skills. They all work together. You can't be a great negotiator if you're a terrible listener, right? It all connects.
So let's just highlight a few of the superstars from that list. Active listening, and I mean truly listening, not just waiting for your turn to talk. Empathy, which is that almost magical ability to see the world through someone else's eyes. And then you've got skills like negotiation and conflict resolution, which are what let us turn a disagreement into something productive. Okay, so even if you have all these skills, things can still go wrong. Even the world's best communicators hit roadblocks. So let's talk about what those common barriers, that noise, actually look like.
You can pretty much sort them into two big categories. On one side, you've got the human stuff, things like language differences, different cultural norms, or even just your own psychological state, like being super stressed out. And on the other side, you've got the tech barriers. Maybe you don't have internet access, don't know how to use the app, or there's just a glitch in the system.
But here's the really good news. Once you can actually see and name these barriers, you can start to figure out how to get around them. You can build strategies to break right through.
So what does that look like? Well, it all comes down to being more mindful and strategic. It means really knowing your audience and speaking their language. It means picking the right channel for the message. You know, maybe a serious conversation shouldn't happen over text. It also means keeping your message simple and direct. And circling all the way back, it means being an active listener, constantly checking to see if what you said is what they heard.
So as we wrap up, I'll leave you with this question to think about. In your own life, at work, with your family, with your friends, what's just one barrier that you can start to work on today? Because honestly, sometimes the smallest, most conscious little change can lead to the biggest, most amazing breakthrough in connection.